Good morning, everyone. We welcome members of the media and members of the community joining us today. My name is Constable Claude Chancy, Public Information Officer with the Winnipeg Police Service. Today's press conference will focus on a West District-led project addressing dangerous driving and vehicle-related complaints received from citizens of Winnipeg. Speaking on the matter today are City Councillor for Charleswood, Tuxedo, and Westwood, Mr. Evan Duncan, and West District Divisional Commander Inspector Max Waddell. Traffic Division Sergeant Paul Deacon will also be on hand for any traffic-related questions you may have following the presentation. I'd now like to invite Inspector Waddell to the podium.
Thank you, Claude. For the record, my name is Max Waddell. My surname is spelled W-A, 2 Ds, E-O-L, and I'm the inspector overseeing uniform operations in West District, which essentially is the southwest quadrant of the city of Winnipeg. Today, we're going to be talking about Project Stunt Driving. And let me just start off with the fact that manner of driving remains one of the top complaints in the city of Winnipeg. This year, unfortunately, we have experienced 22 fatal motor vehicle collisions to date, a number that is really just far too high. In the spring of this year, West District Community Support Unit members began an investigation regarding a large group of car enthusiasts who were traveling throughout Winnipeg and adjacent municipalities, driving in a dangerous manner, causing mischief and disturbances. Between May 15th and September the 6th, 37 calls for service for instances of vehicles racing, squealing tires, and acts of dangerous driving on large surface parking lots were received. The majority of these incidents occurred between 10 o'clock p.m. and 2 a.m., amplifying the frustration amongst Winnipeg residents due to excessive noise and safety concerns. The Winnipeg Police Service worked closely with business owners of the parking lots, with some investing in security cameras and other infrastructure improvements to thwart this unwanted behavior. During the course of the investigation, several dangerous driving offenses and disruptive behavior were captured on video surveillance. At this point in time, we're going to start playing some of these videos, with the first one being a video that shows 3 vehicles purposely taunting, circling, and performing slow-speed power turns around an on-site security vehicle. You can see the security vehicle in the middle there, and these individuals, these car enthusiasts, are just continually disrupting and going around him, trying to prevent him from doing his job. You can see all the other cars in the backdrop. There's a large number of individuals that attend to these gatherings. In another incident, we have an individual who was observed laying on the hood of a vehicle as it traveled in excess of 120 kilometers an hour down a 50 kilometer an hour zone in an industrial park. And I'll please refer to the video for that one. You can see the individual clearly laying face down on the front of what I believe to be a late model Explorer. You can see right in the middle the speeds will start to go up here as we come around the bend. There goes over 120 kilometers an hour laying on the hood of a vehicle. Clearly not recommended. In another instance, and probably the most significant of all of these, investigators obtained video of a motorcycle traveling along the Southwest Rapid Transit Corridor at speeds of 189 kilometers an hour in a 30 kilometer an hour zone, passing civilians waiting for a bus. And we all know this corridor does not permit civilian traffic. So there, he's proceeding down the corridor right now, and you can see the speeds in the middle there going up. And we'll eventually go by a number of civilians just waiting to take a bus. And by the way, this motorcycle did not have a license plate on the rear of it. And the last example, I'm going to show you is a black Chevy or GMC pickup truck that is observed performing power turns on a large surface parking lot. What's particularly concerning about this one is you can see this truck doing these maneuvers, but just to your right, you can see a number of individuals that are just standing beside a truck. This vehicle is a very heavy vehicle, and if at any time it had caught any type of debris or unevenness in the concrete, it could have been just thrown right into those individuals that are just standing there. Very, very dangerous driving behavior. We have many more videos, but we just chose to show these four just as an example of what we're dealing with and what the public is constantly complaining about. These are just a few of these examples. And as of note, the individuals and persons depicted in these above-mentioned incidents and videos I just shown, they're not currently facing charges. So I just want to be clear about that. So fast forward to September the 7th of this year at about 10:50 p.m., the West District Community Support Unit, along with assistance of our traffic division, our remotely piloted aircraft systems unit, our flight operations unit, North District Community Support Unit, tactical support team, and Central and Eastman RCMP traffic services attended to the 300 block of Goldenrod Drive. That's just in the RM of Rosser. It's just on the north boundary of the city of Winnipeg, where 88 vehicles had congregated, with many committing highway traffic infractions, all were captured on video. At this point in time, what we did is we conducted a traffic safety checkpoint, and as a result, 65 provincial offense notices were issued under the Highway Traffic Act and Vehicle Equipment and Safety Inspections Regulation. So we had 9 individuals that were charged with failure to display the correct number and type of plate. We had 1 who operated a vehicle with a number plate obstructed in a manner capable of preventing accurate image. We had 1 as a driver failed to produce driver's license and/or insurance certificate and registration. We had 1 where a person was riding in a vehicle on a highway without being seated on part of the vehicle that is designed and equipped for passenger seating. We had 1 without a license. We had 5 make unnecessary smoke. We had 2 make unnecessary noise, namely squealing tires. There were 6 of those make unnecessary noise, namely squealing tires. And 2 drive a vehicle when their view is obstructed. This is probably the most significant one. We had 6 that were charged with drive carelessly. That's one of the most significant offenses you can get through the Highway Traffic Act. 2 drive while disqualified, so they shouldn't even have been driving, and they were. And 31 improper equipment or operation of equipment offense notices were issued. Of those 6 drive carelessly, 5 of those individuals were issued serious offense notices and will undergo driver fitness hearings through Manitoba Public Insurance. So essentially, they have to go before MPI and prove that they're worthy to maintain their driver's licenses. And there's going to be very hefty fines that are attached to all of this. So the traffic safety strategy within the Winnipeg Police Service business plan promotes responsible driving through enforcement and education. We hope that this enforcement initiative will remind those who engage in reckless driving behavior that they will be held accountable. So with that, I'm going to pass the podium over to Councillor Duncan. The reason why Councillor Duncan is here today is that him and I work very closely on matters that involve the citizens that we both serve. And I can tell you if it's not daily, it's most certainly weekly that we get complaints coming in, particularly on Saturday and Sunday nights with excessive noise up and down Portage Avenue and that. So with that, I would invite Councillor Duncan to please come to the podium, and then I will, or Sergeant Deacon will answer any other questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Inspector Waddell. And first, before I give some comments here, I'd like to thank Inspector Waddell, all the members of the West District Station, as well as all the other units that were involved in this operation, but the continued monitoring and enforcement within the Charles and Tuxedo Westwood Ward. In particular, Westwood is extremely impacted. We have residents calling daily, and then we have influxes, as the inspector said, on the weekends due to our cruise night. And let's make one thing clear here. It's not all cruise night goers. It's the idiots that sit in the parking lots along Portage Avenue that are revving their engines, that are ripping down Portage Avenue, that don't care about anybody but their cars and themselves. These people are making life miserable for residents in Winnipeg, in the West End. And I will do everything in my power as city councillor for an area and for the city of Winnipeg to encourage Winnipeg Police to continue to enforce to their maximum ability. It's unacceptable and it's not going to be tolerated. And with that, I will pass it back over. Again, thank you so much, and I appreciate the hard work in this operation to get some of these guys off the road, potentially losing licenses, but hit them where it hurts in their pocketbooks. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions?
The individuals in the videos you mentioned, they're not facing charges. Can you say why they're not facing charges?
They've not been identified.
I had a couple of questions for Constable Chency in French, if possible.
French?
We can do that after.
Okay.
Sorry.
Then we'll do that.
Well, go ahead. I was going to ask, like, have you seen like a trend of these occurrences going up in the recent years?
I would say over time, yes, it is trending upward, although Saturday and Sunday nights have been a constant complaint over excessive noise. I'm in my 31st year as a police officer. I don't ever remember those nights not being problematic. And as Councillor Duncan said, this is not everyone, let's be clear. This is a specific group of, not always younger people too, because I can say the ages range between 16 and 49 years of age that were involved in these incidents. So it's not just younger groups, but it's these car enthusiasts that have no regard for other people's time to just have quiet time, et cetera. It's just excessive. That's all we're saying.
And specifically to stunt driving related issues, are there any certain areas that you're looking at these issues more right now?
It's where you find large surface parking lots. So I can tell you there's a location in central Winnipeg, there's several in southwest, and in this particular one, it was in a northern area, again, just outside our jurisdiction. And the reason why they go to this area is because they're trying to evade us or elude us. But obviously, we were on top of this. And the credit goes to, again, our CSU members in traffic division for their assistance and all the other supporting cast.
Is there a specific type or profile of car that you find often in those incidents?
I would say no. You saw 4 different vehicles in those videos, so it ranges from motorcycles to heavy vehicles and everywhere in between. A lot of them are modified though, and that's what is causing the trouble with modified exhausts. Right, that's probably one of the biggest ones.
Is it easily potentially identifiable, like if you see it from the outside, could you guess it's modified?
If you're following a vehicle from the rear, most certainly the size of the exhaust, but you can quite clearly hear the difference, right? And that's the making unnecessary noise offense that many were charged with.
In these particular offenses, how much of it is documented on social media or maybe is even being done for social media to post videos?
If you were to go on social media right now, you could find all this that you've seen.
Does that help you identify people?
Yes and no. In the 4 that we showed you, no, but in other instances, potentially yes.
Does social media kind of play a role in the prevalence of this? Because people want to show off. They want to, go look at my nice car, look at what I can do.
You're exactly correct when you say that. These are tight-knit groups. They communicate amongst themselves, and it is show and tell is exactly what it is.
Can you just speak again a little bit to how this started? Was it based around complaints from business owners, residents?
It's exactly that. So as I stated, Councillor Duncan and I work very closely together, and it's the constant barrage of complaints coming into his offices. We were put on notice that we needed to do something, and then I reached out to our community support unit members, our B-side members, and they came up with the project idea and the ones that put this into motion. We spent the summer collecting evidence and just documenting what had occurred, and then it culminated in the fall, because this is typically when things are now starting to trend down. The colder weather's coming, they're going to want to put their nice vehicles away, and we needed to send a message that it won't be tolerated.
Is there anything that can be done to try to come combat this or prevent this before it gets to this point? Maybe, I don't know, I'm sure these people have had some kind of driver education, but is there anything that could be done that isn't being done presently?
I would say no. The Winnipeg Police Service and MPI, I believe, are doing an excellent job in educating the community to the dangers of, for instance, the use of speed, right? And research tells us, research studies tells us that speed is and can be a contributing factor to serious motor vehicle collisions. They do a great job. Billboards, we're constantly putting out reminders to people. As I said, that sadly and unfortunately, we've had 22 fatal collisions this year. That's just a number that is far too high.
Have there been any conversations at all with any of the people who help to organize Sunday cruise night events to, talk about some of the issues and try to discourage this kind of behavior?
Yes, we have engaged with multiple groups. And again, this is only a small percentage that are the outliers that are causing all the issues. We're not after those individuals that are respecting the law and showing up to just meet with their friends and have a good evening and display their cars. That's not the people we're targeting. It's the ones that are disobeying the laws that we need to go after, and we clearly proved that we can do that.
Of the 22 fatal collisions, do you know how many are linked to stunt driving, dangerous driving?
Yeah, I can't say that any are related to stunt driving, and in many cases, it's pedestrian vehicle collision. So no, I wouldn't be able to comment on that.
There's been talk in the past, and maybe other cities have done this, where they've set up, or where there has been sort of like a racing strip set up where people can go and legally race if they want to. Is that something that the police service would support, or do you think it would assist in any way to try to prevent this kind of driving behavior?
I would say we would not support that. It would just be the legalities that would be attached, and in the event that something went bad at one of these events, who's going to be ultimately responsible? If we endorse this, that means we support it, and I just can't see it happening. There have been discussions around that. Where would you hold it? I have no idea, and who's going to be willing to take on that liability?
Ultimately, what's the outcome that you're looking for?
It's twofold. One, that the police service demonstrated that we can respond to complaints from citizens by and through enforcement action. And number two, I hope through these videos, we've educated people that if you're participating on riding on a car hood or driving 189 kilometers an hour on a motorcycle, that's probably not a good idea. Someone is going to seriously get hurt and hopefully not lose their life.
So do you expect the numbers to go down, or do you think these individuals will, possibly find another way where they think they're being sneaky about it?
Well, of all the offense notices we issued, if losing your driver's license is not a strong message, I hope that they would take a different approach on a move forward basis. Do I think it's going to ultimately stop this behavior? Absolutely not. But we have to do our part. The community needs to do our part, and all the drivers out there need to do their part. So it needs to be a collective response to address this concern.
I know this wouldn't affect, of course, in the parking lots or the industrial areas, but does this maybe point to the need for more cameras in intersections, speed cameras, speed traps, things along those lines?
I don't know specifically to the streets, but most certainly in these private lots. And if you read the release, there are certain locations, and I don't want to name them here today, but they have spent money on security cameras to try and do exactly what you just said, because then they can supply that evidence to us, and then we can enforce that action.
Is there a time in the year where those type of incidents occur more often, like summer or something?
When there's not snow on the ground, spring to fall.
For the 4 videos that you showed, what were the locations?
I'm not going to name specifically, well, I said the Southwest Transit Corridor, so you got me on that one. But the other ones was in an industrial park and just some other areas within the city.
You can't say which area or which
You know what, if you meet with me later, I can probably provide you a little bit better answer.
Do you feel that the penalties that people will face, and then, the penalties that people would face when they're caught, you feel that they're sufficient, that there's enough of a deterrence?
The ones that will be charged with drive carelessly, most certainly, again, because they are looking to potentially lose their license. I believe that's a right to have a license, and it's one I want to keep. So if I lost my license, I feel that would be pretty impactful. Some of the other ones, it's monetary, and they're going to get demerits also, so then your auto pack and your insurance goes up. So we believe that through enforcement by putting fines on people and they have to pay, that hopefully they will understand that they don't want to do that. I mean, any of us that have had even a photo radar ticket, it's not an enjoyable experience.
Is this an ongoing thing, this project?
Well, for now, it is concluded, but you can be rest assured that we will continue with action as required.
And this kind of organized situation where they're gathering in a parking lot, let's say, is that a fairly new trend that you're seeing, or has that been going on for some time, where people are gathering in a parking lot, doing donuts and doing other?
It's been going on for some time. This is most certainly not new.
Do you use social media to, I don't know if they would use social media to say, hey, we're going to meet here, but do you check social media to see, let's try to find out where they might be tonight?
They do, but they are very descript and honestly quite elusive in trying to hide their locations. And that was a very big challenge that our investigators were able to eventually unearth, but it's not easy. They intentionally try to evade or elude us so that they can perform these acts.
Is that where Air One kind of becomes a?
Air One is a great tool for the Winnipeg Police Service.
Toronto Police has a similar program called Erase, and they have, I think, when someone's caught under stunt driving, their license gets suspended immediately and the vehicle gets impounded immediately as well. Is that something Winnipeg Police might be looking into?
Why don't you come up, Paul?
For the record, it's Sergeant Deacon, Traffic Division. I'm one of the sergeants within the Traffic Division. To answer your question, I don't know where that is on the table. That would be a provincial thing we'd be looking at, but it's definitely something we would support. It goes to ensuring that the consequences for these dangerous behaviors meet how dangerous they are.
And how big stunt driving is a concern at the moment that you'd be looking to bring in a new program to address it?
It's a big concern. You saw the video there of that truck. That's a 2,200 kilogram piece of metal that's spinning around at high velocity next to people standing on a roadway. The danger is huge there, and with high risk, high danger behaviors, we need to focus on ensuring they don't happen through our strategy of education and enforcement.
In the fatal collisions that happen in the city, what are some of the more common factors?
We're seeing a lot of interactions between vehicles and pedestrians this year, more so than anything. So with stunt driving aside, we'll move on to speaking on that. Both parties got to be aware of what they're doing. When you're driving a car, you got to be aware of what's around you. You need to be having your head on a swivel, doing those 180-degree checks everywhere you're going, and pedestrians need to be aware of where they are in the roadway as well. I don't want to blame anyone on any other side, but it's the fact of the matter is we're seeing a lot of collisions involving pedestrians and a lot of interacting with cars, and it's tragic, and we need people to be paying attention to the world around them.
Is there any case in sort of like alcohol or any sort of substance sometimes found on the scene, like?
Oh, are you speaking with our fatal collisions?
Yeah, like not necessarily scheduled collisions like those stunt driving, for example.
I can't speak with the project we're discussing today, but I know in the past, historically, we have gone into lots, we've seen the burnout marks on the pavement, and then we've seen empty alcohol containers there. Absolutely, there has been alcohol and drugs used historically, but I can't speak for this specific one.
For the investigation leading to the charges, what sort of challenges are there identifying the drivers after the fact? Or is this kind of a situation where police kind of have to catch them in the end?
No, we're very good in the traffic division of identifying the drivers responsible for operating a vehicle after the fact. We have a multitude of investigative methods. We'll choose traditional police work, other sources of obtaining that information to find out who was actually operating the vehicle. And we always have the ability to go through the owner of the vehicle, because in Manitoba, the owner of a vehicle is ultimately responsible for what that vehicle does if we can't identify the driver. So quite often we'll be speaking with the registered owner if You are borrowing somebody else's car, that person who owns that car is going to want to ensure they're not taking the blame for a bad driving behavior.
Have you noticed an increase in drivers doing something to disguise their license plate or maybe hide that information?
I wouldn't say there's any higher increase than throughout my career. We do see the usual techniques, but we're aware of what those techniques are, and we address them within the traffic division, within the greater general patrol membership. When we see somebody trying to hide the identity of the vehicle, we generally address that right away and take care of it right away.
And specifically related to stunt driving cases, what age range are you guys seeing? Is it more of a younger crowd or more of an older crowd that we're looking at?
I'll only speak with the ones that I've personally dealt with, and they've typically been in the 18 to 25 age range. We're looking at a lot of new drivers, people who don't have enough experience operating a vehicle to recognize the risk that that vehicle holds. I mean, let's not kid ourselves. Human beings aren't designed to survive traveling at 100 miles per hour. That's why we're surrounded by airbags, seatbelts, and metal. Your body doesn't react as fast as you think it will. Movies are movies, reality is reality. And as you get more experience, you recognize the high faculties you need to be having to operate a motor vehicle properly. So we do tend to see it, or sorry, I've tended to see it on the younger age. And it was a lot of that driver inexperience thinking they could, driving beyond their capabilities.
How many would you say have been students?
I couldn't answer that question.
I don't know if this is for you or for Inspector Waddell, but just in terms of the project, what's sort of driving this behavior? Is it people just doing it for a thrill, essentially?
I think it depends on the individual. Some people, it's social pressures through social media. Sometimes it's wanting to show off. Sometimes people have a vehicle they're very, very proud of. We've talked about modified vehicle. People spend a lot of money modifying these vehicles to make them very, very fancy, and they want to show it off. But you can't. The risk to the public and yourself is just too high.
I don't have a question, but how often, like, I don't know that I've been in a situation where the counselor has been in this setting. I'm wondering if I could, because I've got photos of you and I've got photos of you, but, you know, say one photo, I have one of you and one of you. I guess my question is, can you get up there so that if that is something that you'd be willing to, yeah. Okay.
I might have just one more question, actually, just when it comes to the Sunday cruise night. Can you speak to how police liaise with, there's probably various groups.
Yes.
And there's no really umbrella organization, it seems, that sort of organizes or oversees or speaks to it. So can you maybe talk to just how police liaise with Sunday cruise night and kind of the relationship? Is a little bit, is there a little bit of tension at all?
Well, within the traffic division, we have our vehicle inspection unit, and part of one of the mandates of the vehicle inspection unit is education. So we'll identify car clubs, car groups that meet on regular basis that kind of have a more organized structure, and we'll go out to those meets and chat with the leadership, chat to the members attending, and kind of tell them what we're seeing as far as expectations on roadside behavior. And we're often invited by those car clubs to come speak to that. So we do have a very good relationship with the overall car club, car enthusiast community. When it comes to Sunday cruise night, it's a lot of patrol-based things. We're going out and we're putting cars on the road and looking for offenses.
You'd say a vast majority of those who take part in Sunday cruise night are responsible?
Absolutely, the vast, vast majority. And I think Inspector Waddell hit the nail on the head. We're talking about a very, very small segment of the car enthusiast car club community.
The video with the person lying on the hood, do we have any more details about the circumstances of that? Was that voluntary? Were there any injuries, anything like that?
I would say that's voluntary, because the second that vehicle started to move, they would be getting off.